For years, the Jeffrey Epstein story has felt unfinished, a scandal too big, a network too powerful, a case that never fully closed. Now, millions of newly released documents are reigniting global outrage. More than 3 million pages, thousands of recordings, hundreds of thousands of images, and over 300 names once again tied to the most infamous financier of our time. Political figures, billionaires, royal connections, international contacts stretching from the United States to Russia to the United Kingdom. And the biggest question is no longer whether Epstein had powerful friends. The question is, how deep did this network really go? Because what these files suggest isn't just scandal, it's influence, and possibly something far more complex. Let's break it down carefully, because this story just escalated again. The Department of Justice recently released another massive batch of documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein's investigations. Officials describe it as a step towards transparency. Critics call it incomplete, pointing out that large portions remain heavily redacted. Still, even with sections blacked out, the volume of material is staggering. One of the most discussed revelations involves repeated references to Russia. According to summaries of the documents, Russia is mentioned thousands of times, with over 1,000 references to Vladimir Putin. Travel records reportedly show Epstein made multiple trips to Russia, secured business visas, and cultivated connections with political and business elites. The documents describe him as someone who didn't just socialize, he positioned himself as a facilitator, a connector, someone who could introduce influential figures to one another across borders. In the United States, attention turned towards communications involving congressional delegate Stacey Plaskett during a 2019 congressional hearing featuring former presidential attorney Michael Cohen. Time-stamped messages suggest Epstein and Plaskett exchanged texts while the hearing was taking place. Plaskett later stated that she communicated with many constituents and believed Epstein might provide useful information. She denied any improper relationship and emphasized that her contact was not personal. Across the Atlantic, scrutiny resurfaced around Prince Andrew. Previously reported flight logs and civil allegations had already placed him within Epstein's social circle. The renewed document release has once again drawn public attention to those past associations. In the corporate world, billionaire businessman Les Wexner faced renewed questions about his long financial relationship with Epstein. Wexner has described himself as naive for trusting Epstein and maintains he severed ties years before Epstein's final arrest. However, newly referenced materials suggest their relationship may have been more complex than initially understood. Another high-profile name repeatedly mentioned in discussions is Bill Gates. Gates previously acknowledged meeting Epstein several times, later calling those meetings a mistake in judgment. Recent document references include emails allegedly written by Epstein making claims about Gates. A spokesperson for Gates has strongly denied any wrongdoing and described certain allegations as completely false. Meanwhile, podcast host Joe Rogan publicly reacted to the release, stating that the scale of documentation has shifted how many people view the case. Rogan also revealed that Epstein once attempted to arrange a meeting with him through a third party, an invitation he declined after researching Epstein's background. But perhaps the most controversial detail involves lawmakers who claim that during review sessions of unredacted files, they discovered 6 powerful individuals whose names had initially been concealed. After raising concerns, those identities were reportedly disclosed. If 6 names were hidden, critics are asking, how many more remain shielded? And that's where the public reaction exploded. Online reactions have been intense and divided. Some believe the sheer volume of documentation confirms that Epstein's influence reached far deeper than previously admitted. Others warn against assuming guilt based solely on name mentions within files. Clips of public discussions, particularly from Joe Rogan, have gone viral. Many viewers were struck by his comments about how easily powerful social circles normalize questionable associations. The idea that elite gatherings create an illusion of safety resonated widely. On social media platforms, 2 dominant narratives have formed. The first argues that this proves systemic corruption, that Epstein functioned within a protected class of influence where accountability rarely reaches. The second suggests something more nuanced, that powerful individuals sometimes fail to properly vet social relationships, especially when introduced through trusted networks. Victims' advocates have also stepped forward, urging the public not to lose sight of the core issue. Behind the politics and speculation are real people who were harmed. And as debates intensify, one central question keeps surfacing. How did Epstein continue to access powerful rooms even after his 2008 conviction? That question leads us into the deeper analysis. Jeffrey Epstein's greatest asset may not have been money. It may have been proximity. He understood something fundamental about power. Credibility is often borrowed. When respected scientists, politicians, billionaires, and public figures appear in the same social circle, it creates what psychologists call social proof. If everyone else is there, the environment feels legitimate. Epstein reportedly hosted gatherings that blended academia, politics, finance, and entertainment. This makes blurred lines between professional networking and social interaction. Once embedded in those circles, access compounds. The Russia-related communications add another layer. While no public evidence definitively proves formal intelligence ties, the repeated references to foreign governments have fueled speculation. Analysts note that individuals operating in international finance often develop global contacts. The question becomes whether those contacts were purely social and business-oriented, or something more strategic. Financially, Epstein's wealth remains partially opaque. He managed assets for high-net-worth individuals and cultivated relationships with influential investors. But the scale of his lifestyle, multiple properties, private aircraft, global travel, has long prompted questions about the full structure of his finances. Another critical angle involves leverage. Some experts suggest that Epstein's model relied on creating situations where influential individuals shared private environments. Even without wrongdoing, shared secrecy can build dependency, and dependency creates influence. But we must remain careful here. There is a difference between documented fact and unproven speculation. The documents confirm his crimes and confirm his associations. They do not confirm every theory circulating online. Still, systemic concerns remain valid. How did institutions allow someone with a prior conviction to continue operating in elite spaces? Were background checks insufficient? Did social reputation override ethical caution? Or did people simply underestimate the risk? These questions matter not only for history, but for prevention. Because if one individual could weave himself so deeply into global networks, what safeguards ensure it cannot happen again? Transparency is key, yet transparency often arrives only after public pressure. And with significant portions of these files still redacted, public trust remains fragile. Jeffrey Epstein is no longer alive. His criminal record is documented. His victims deserve justice and acknowledgement. But the story of his network, the influence, the connections, the access, remains partially unresolved. With over 300 names resurfacing and millions of pages still partially hidden, the world is left with difficult questions. Was this simply the story of a manipulative financier exploiting elite spaces? Or does it reveal deeper weaknesses in how power and influence operate across governments, corporations, and global institutions? Should every remaining file be released in full? Or are there legal and ethical reasons certain details must remain confidential? The conversation is far from over. What do you think? Drop your perspective in the comments below. And if you want balanced, in-depth coverage of major celebrity and global news stories without sensationalism and without bias, make sure to subscribe. Because when it comes to this case, we may have seen thousands of pages, but we still haven't seen the final chapter.